What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Juice Reacts video, and I just got back from watching Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker, and obviously I can't do a real reaction for you, but I do want to talk about the review. But if you are here because you want to see a reaction, maybe I can go ahead and do what I saw during the movie. So, some of the movie I was like, and then I was like, and then, there's something like, oh, and then I was like, oh, and then, there was like, oh, and then it was like, oh, and then there was like, oh, and then there was like, they're not in any particular order, but, that there are some reactions from the damn movie. But I do want to talk about this movie. This is going to be some non-spoiler reviews, although I don't know if those reactions are spoilers. I don't know, maybe they're not, but anyways, I want to go ahead and just talk about this movie, to be honest. And I will say, I do feel like going into this movie, I was excited about it, but I wasn't, I don't know, I feel like everybody complaining about, The Last Jedi kind of brought my mood down a little bit, and I just didn't really know what to expect from, Star Wars, The Rise of the Skywalker. And I was pumped for it. It's kind of somber because, like, oh, this is going to end. Although I have said many a times that I do think in my lifetime we will get episode 10, 11, and 12 in the future. I'm saying, like, give it like 5 to 10 years and I'll guarantee you will hear some news about it. But yeah, I didn't really know what I was expecting with this film because I was like, am I going to get an ending I want? Is it going to leave me kind of disappointed? And I have to say, at the end of this, I was okay with the ending. I was cool with how this movie went and just how everything went on. I will say that at the beginning of this movie, I wasn't super pumped as I was watching it. I was like, this is okay. Like, I wasn't super into it. But as it got into like the second and third act, that's when I really started enjoying the movie more. And and then, like I said, I was very happy with the ending of this movie. Now, I will say this, that I can definitely see how some people might get upset with some things that happen in this film. Although the one thing I do think might upset people did have half of the audience cheering in my theater, so that is pretty interesting. Maybe it's going to be a split decision on this thing. You'll definitely know it. You'll definitely know what I'm talking about when you see it. But, yeah, I don't know. Again, when this movie ended, I was okay. Walking out of the theater, I was like, all right, I really enjoyed this film. Did I enjoy it more than, like, Force Awakens? Or I actually enjoyed Last Jedi, to be honest. But I don't know. I don't know if I could actually... I feel like every film is very different, in my opinion. And I feel like they were just trying to tell a lot of the story with this movie. And I will say, J.J. Abrams did very well with the creative writing of having to do with everything that happened in Last Jedi, molding it into this movie. I think he did a really good job with that because a lot of people were upset about things that happened in The Last Jedi, and of course you can't just erase that film, although some people want to raise money to redo it. But you're not going to be able to erase The Last Jedi. It's there, and you just have to live with it. And I think J.J. Abrams actually did really good creative things with progressing that story along and giving you answers to those things, to the questions that were in that movie as well. Moving on over to the action and stuff in the film, I thought a lot of it was pretty cool. It did feel very Star Wars, and if that doesn't really make sense, I feel like Star Wars has its very own type of action, if that makes sense, with the space battles and lightsaber fights and stuff like that. It just felt very Star Wars. I will say that the one thing that I was questioning throughout this film, and maybe you'll pick up on it too, I felt like the soundtrack didn't play as much into the movie as it could have in previous movies, or I should say as it has in previous movies. And I was literally at points in the movie thinking, I was like, man, they should really get a better soundtrack or make a different, like, more oomph-heavy soundtrack, if that makes sense. I don't know, I feel like some scenes could have benefited a lot more from more dramatic music or, like, harder, I don't know the freaking music terms, but I just felt like some scenes could have been better with more dramatic music or, maybe happier music or whatever. There's just, I just felt like the soundtrack actually didn't progress or benefit the film like it does in previous ones. That would probably be one of my biggest gripes about the film, which is kind of weird, and I don't know if it's something I'll notice a lot more if I watched it again, but I will have to say that I didn't have a moment when the music came on and I was just like, oh, like that's what usually happens to me in a lot of movies, not just Star Wars, not just superhero movies, but music usually pumps me up, and I genuinely can't remember having a freaking moment like that in this movie. Although there are moments in this movie that I was just like, oh, but it just didn't, the music wasn't there for it. One thing I will say about this movie that it's not really a spoiler, but what did have me kind of questioning things a lot as we went along, And I think it's I think this also might make a lot of people upset. I don't really know. So, because Star Wars fans can be some of the most supportive fans ever and can be some of the most hated fans ever. They're literally the light and the dark side of fandoms. One thing that is not a spoiler, but I will say happens a decent amount in this film, and I think it's gonna either really upset people or people are gonna totally be on board with it. I'm kind of in the middle, and I'm kind of more for it than I am against it, but the Force is used a lot more in this film, two different ways that I've never seen before, and I'm kind of just like, oh, can they do that? And it's very interesting, and I would like to see that explained somehow. So if there are any super mega Star Wars fans out there that know all about the Force or what can happen with the Force, I'd be all about it. And if for some reason it is not, like, as long as you explain it to me, I'm totally cool with it. I'll believe anything if you can explain it in a logical way in that lore or whatever. But I don't know if these were just like made up and this has never happened before. They're just like, let's just make it up, we'll never explain it, it doesn't really matter. Then that would kind of upset me, but I could see this kind of stuff happening. I would just need an explanation for it. But like I said though, I'm more for it than I am against it. It was just seeing some of the stuff, I was like, huh? You could do that? And it was just very interesting. But it did add to the film. I think it made things a lot cooler at times. And it made me start thinking about, I was like, oh man, how powerful are the Jedi? And how powerful is the dark side? And I thought it was really cool. One thing I will say that really surprised me about this movie, because it is a Disney property now, I don't feel like there was a lot of comedy in it, which was very interesting. I think there were times that were meant to be funny, although my theater didn't really laugh at a lot of the stuff, so I don't really know. I laughed at some of the stuff even by myself. I was like, but yeah, I don't know if there was I don't think there was that much comedy in here. It was more of a serious film, but we're not talking about like super mega serious. But I was just very surprised to see I feel like the last two Star Wars movies had a decent amount of comedy in them. And yeah, this one, I just didn't, nothing was like in your face. And I think that's a good thing. And that's been one of my biggest gripes about Disney movies that have taken over Marvel and have taken over Star Wars and just other properties that I enjoy. It feels like they force a lot of comedy in there. It feels that way at the start that you're going to get one of those films, but it doesn't last. Like there's a few jokes at the beginning that it feels like they're trying to make happen. They don't really land, in my opinion. And then there's not that many more after that, if I can recall. So that might be a good thing. If you're somebody that does not like a lot of jokes in your movies, then I don't think there's a lot in this one, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, as I am filming this video right now, it's really hard not to do these freaking things without spoiling anything. And if you watch my other channel, Back from the Box, I used to do reviews all the time on a bunch of different comic book movies. But would you guys be cool with freaking spoiler-filled reviews? Because, man, I could be talking about way more if I didn't want to spoil. Okay, I could be talking about way more stuff. Okay, I could be talking about way more stuff if I actually spoiled it. So I'm going to leave this up to you. Do you guys want spoil-filled reviews? I'll definitely put it in the title and be like spoilers and stuff like that. But I can give you I think it's just so much easier when I can talk about some of my favorite things that happen in the movie, some of the best moments and stuff like that. So I'm going to consider this a tester video, because I would love to do more movie reviews. I do go to the movies a lot, and I could just put these out there, especially if it's big things like Star Wars or Batman or whatever. I could do reviews after the movies before I do this. On my old channel, I used to do something called Before and After, where in the video I would be like, this is what I thought going into it, and then after the movie I would give my review and what I thought, and if it was, see if it matched up with my stuff before. But anyways, this is a non-spoiler review. At the end of the movie, I enjoyed this. So walking away from Star Wars, I enjoyed this. I'm down with it. I would watch it again. But I can definitely see that some people are probably not going to like some things about this movie. But I would recommend go watch Star Wars, because, yeah, it was dope in my opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, this just feels like a very weird video because it's a test video. I just want to spoil everything for you. I'm not going to lie. But if you did enjoy this video or any of my past videos, please hit that subscribe button, because, you know, we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. But as always, ladies and gents, I am your host, JUICEBOX. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I my daily dose of juice? See you guys next time.